Okay, Bir Inyan Shcherani Venova, who maimer Knesset Yisrael Bnei Yerushalayim, like we learned in last week's maimer, Hein Anishames Hamufshatis Min Aguf. Yeah. The Inyan. So we learned last week in the maimer that Bnei Yerushalayim are neshames before they come down to the guf. After the Rushim Rosh Hashanah, even further. Yeah. All the way, yeah. Oh. So Bnei Yerushalayim are neshames before Mufshatis Min Aguf. They're not yet connected to a guf. Knesset Yisrael is the neshamas the way they're already connected. It's the makar of neshamas Yisrael, the way they are already neshama beguf. So he says, "Va'inyan ki ashchina hi malchus da'atzilis hamislabeshes bibya." Like it says in the pasuk, "V'shachanti b'seichel." So, like the Rebbe explains in the first maimer Basi Lagani and Bechlal, the inyan of shchina, that v'shachanti b'seichel means that the inyan of shchina is, as in Yiddish you say, succumbed on. It reaches. It's beislapshus in the tachta. Yeah, what did Shlomo HaMelech say? How could it be Shmei Hashamayim lo yichal kalucha and Abayis Azeh? The Shechina is mamish here. In other words, it's here. So the inyan of Shechina is hamislabeshes b'biyah v'shachanti b'seicham. And what does it say? Hasheichin itom b'seich tumoisom. So it doesn't remain lamaila, it's beislapshus. It's with the Yidden in their tumah, in the hagbolis. That's the inyan of Malchus Da'atzilis. The way Malchus Da'atzilis is Yered Libya. So here in this maimer he says that Malchus Da'atzilis, which we learned in the past, that Knesset Yisrael is Malchus Da'atzilis. That Malchus is the heart, and Hashem says that the Yidden are his heart. So we have to. But here he's speaking from the perspective first of the Eibishter. So Malchus Da'atzilis, in other words, in a lekus, there's a yerida that Ein Sof is mislabish in Gashmius. So you look around and you see here's Ein Sof, here's the Eiris Da'atzilis, here the Midas Da'atzilis. What do I have to? I have to go down to Biyah. It says here, Mair shechirani, take shechirani, but va'afal pikei nova. Nevertheless, I'm beautiful, more beautiful. Biur, what Bnei Yerushalayim, who was the inyan of Bnei Yerushalayim? He says, "Ki hinei haneshamas mitchila yukludin b'chinas ibur ba'atzilis." All the neshamas were b'chinas ibur. When we talk about ibur, ibur means that they're not a metzias bifnei atzmon. Number one, they're completely not embedded. They're completely, in other words, the kids are right. They're not a metzias. They're like water in a sponge. No, how do we absorbed? They're complete. Yeah, the inyan of ibur. Then they're nisgala. Azai, when the neshamas are revealed in Biyah, Nasu Balikvu, because we have to know ki ein bechinas ein sof ela ba'atzilis. Only in Atzilis is there still a concept of ein sof. Sheshom mistayim ha'ores hakav v'chut me'erin sof chulu. The end of ein sof is in Atzilis. In other words, only in Atzilus is there no tzir. I want to take a minute to talk a little bit about what he says here outside. We Deira Shvi, Chasidei Chabad, we talk about in the early years, the Rebbe spoke about that, what's a Rebbe? The Rebbe spoke about the Friedrich Rebbe, what's a Rebbe? He said, Atzmos u'mohus melubish in aguf, right? We say, oh, the Rebbe, it's beli gvul and gvul. So here he says an interesting thing. He says that you have, he says that you have, let's say, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, they exist on two levels. Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, their neshamas mitzad atzmon, they're completely Ein Sof. They're completely bottled with the Eibishter. But in Bia, there's no room for Bli Gvul. So it's like a tension the whole time between the part that's in a guf and the way they are lamaila. It's like Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, his neshama is Ein Sof, but in Bia, he can't be Ein Sof. I know we have in our mind. Right, we have in our mind different chazal that Moshe is, Mishisihu, and he remained Ein Sof, but right. So think about it. We have a person that their neshama, and maybe from what he speaks about later, we could have an understanding or a way of processing the chil. Like, what does it mean that there's part of the neshama that's out and part of the neshama that's in? And he brings this mashal that we learned this on one of the Shabbosis in the maimer about the 11 spices of the Ktoiris. The Yud Aleph Samamoni Aktoiris are connected the chayes of Klippa. Yeah, in Kedusha it's 10, in Klippa it's 11. What's the difference? In Klippa, the chayes does not get absorbed. That was the word I was looking for before. Right? Ibur, it's absorbed. In Kedusha, the chayes becomes completely absorbed in the Indian that it's mechayim. It doesn't, right? It's like Lamashal parents, when parents sustain their children, they don't make it a thing. It's like when the kid is 5, they don't say, you better listen to me because I changed your diaper many times, you owe me. Right? That's not a sprach. Why? Because there's complete bittul. The parents giving, that's why, I'm saying this in a strange way, but in Kedusha, the chayes in the Nivroim is completely bottled to the Nivroim. What's their whole function? To be Mechaya, the Nivroim. In Klippa, what's their whole function? To show you that you're dependent on me. So it's not miyuchid. So that's why in Klippa, right, it's 11. On the other hand, here he speaks about a positive aspect. Without Kedusha, nothing could exist. The Rebbe, in one of the Fabrengens of Chofov, the one that they gave out now, I don't know the answer, I'm just going to say the question. The Rebbe brings a Gemara that the Chachamim from Greece, they asked the question at the Chachma Yisrael, how they asked Rabbi Gamliel, he didn't know. They asked Rabbi Yeshua, he knew the answer. They said, how long does it take for a snake? How long is a snake pregnant? Yeah. So the Rebbe explains that be'emes, the question in Ruchnius HaInyanim, the question was, if the Nachash is the market of Klippa, how could it be that the Nachash has kids? How could it be that the Nachash is mashpia? Right? What's the inyan of Yitush? He's machnes ve'ene moitzi. Nachash is the market of Klippa. That really was their question. I didn't see the answer because the answer is not in that sefer. The answer is in lekuttei sichos. So akoponim, this nekuda that all the existence of everything is dependent on kedusha. So if it's dependent on kedusha, so in other words, the kedusha, but it's klippa. So the chayas remains lamaila, and there's only a ha'ara of the chayas. It's not right. It's only a reishim of the kedusha. So there's a Gemara. The Gemara says in Makis that by the Ir Miklot, they have to mark the Ir Miklot, the road. To the Ir Miklot has to have big signs. Miklot, Tochin Lecha Haderech. You have to have. So the Gemara brings what we say in the Pasuk in Tachnon. Al Kain Yoire Chatoim Badorech. So that Chatoim, people, sinners, Yoire, he shows them where to go. He shows the sinners where to go. So the Gemara says, Kal v'chomer, if the Eibishter is helping the chatoim, Kal v'chomer, that oisei mitzvah, the people that are doing the right thing, of course he's helping them. So here, the Alter Rebbe says like this. Okay. Where's the Ir Miklat? In emergency, where's the Ir Miklat? Right? No, he's saying they're shy to ask. The people looking for the Ir Miklat are shy to ask. So he says like this: if by klippe the klippes receive chayas bederach makif from kedusha, mikol shekain by kedusha, if there's an inyan, if there's a power of makif, we should be makabel from the makif. Like when we talk about emunah, person says he has emunah, but emunah is l'mayla min haseichel. So what can I get from it? There's a hashpah, right? That's what he's saying. He's not explaining how it is, right? To understand that there's a hashpah. So this is. So we're talking about two nekudas. One nekuda is right. They're connected. That there are people whose neshamas are really in atzilus. But once the neshamas come down to bia, they can't be b'ligvul, because in bia it's not sovel. You can't be b'ligvul. But there's a hashpah. There's a roishim from the neshama, the way it is in atzilus, that's felt in bia. So he says, Azai nasu baligvul ki ein bechinas ein sof ela ba'atzilus sheshom mistayim ha'oretz akav v'chut meir ein sof. That's the end of ein sof. I don't have to tell you that Michael be'ava and Gavriel be'yiro pachad. So bechlal, the malachim are molded. The whole inyan is one midah, yiro pachad or ava, and then gimel pa'amim kadosh dafke 3 times, and it's beyud beis shoyis chulu. Right? There's the malachim who say kadosh, and the malachim who say baruch. There's day and there's night. It's very measured. Hakol heim b'bchinas gvul. Then he brings another proof to this idea that the malachim are balik gvul. It's not only that there are avodas in an oifen of gvul, but their whole metzias is in an Indian of gvul. He says, "Hamalachim shekitrgu v'amru ma enosh." The malachim who said, "Eibishter, why are you so fascinated with this limited being?" What happened? The Eibishter put out his pinky and sorfon. So what's the idea? So that shows that they're limited. They have a precise measure, and that's it. More, they can't be soivel. So this is the kavanah, which we learned in last week's maimer. Lahidia livnei ha'adam v'roisov. Uchveid hadar malchusay, that it's only a ziv of malchusay. Shalei kol midas malchusay is barich mulubeshes bahem. Ela kovid v'ziv. K'afal pikein, this little bit. Ziv zeh hama'at miz'er. Hadar hu lohem. It's for them, it's already a glorious thing. It's way above. So this is by malachim. Obviously, malachim are mugbal, and there are malachim in Bria and Yitzira, Asiya, they're all mugbal. Elafilu neshamas, even neshamas like neshamas ha'avos, Avram, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov. Yesh bechinas Avram, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov ba'atzilus. There's the way they are completely bottled. The ihu v'chayoy hichad, they're completely miyuchad with the Eibishter. Avol, Avram, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov shebebriya, hem bechinas balik gvul. Once they come into this world, they're mugbal. Ubechinas gvul zeh, when does that happen? When do they become mugbal? Hubeleidas hanashamis bibya. So there's a transition. They go from being absorbed in Atzilus, from the inyan of Ibur, from being hidden, they're not a metzias bifnei atzmon. They become the neshama becomes revealed. Where does it become revealed? It becomes revealed in Bia. Mashenke b'bchinas ibur ba'atzilus sham ihu v'chayohi v'gamoyi chad the eiris the kelim the om miyuchid kisham Mair eirin sof. Neshamis elu shebebchinas ibor. These neshamis are called b'neis Yerushalayim. Why b'neis? Shalafi sheim bebchinas ibor b'malchus. Malchus is the inyan of nukve, so that's why nikru b'neis and nikru al shem Yerushalayim, like he explained in last week's maimer, shemekabli is Yerushalayim, because they see the complete truth of Hashem, and therefore their Yerushalayim is complete. Shleimus hayira bitul amiti iu v'chayo yichad, the way it is in Atzilus. Now v'hine, now he introduces the new idea here in the maimer. Maimer ashchina lohem. What does the Shechina say? Shcheirani. I'm taka blackened. But v'afal pikei novo. What's the shcheira? Shcheirani b'yerida b'balgvu. Kinase shachrus. The neshama becomes black. Becomes black. He didn't speak about this yet in these mamorim. He says machmas merirus al eitzem richuka miyechudei lo. The neshama itself knows the truth that there's only one Metzias, only the Eibishter. Once the neshama comes down to Biyah, it loses the ability to see it that way. Once the neshama becomes a Metzias, so now it doesn't feel Yechudei Eloah. It's far. Even on a lower level, it says Va'al zeh neifel rachmanus gedayla. Right? There's a tremendous rachmanus. Maimer elekei eilam berachamecha harabim chulu. So, right? Why rachim aleinu? Because we're disconnected. We can't. In other words, once we exist, we're a stira to the Eibishter. And that's, we don't want to not exist, but we also want to see the truth. Right? So that's the Rachim Aleinu. V'azai nikra hamalchus shcharcheres beis b'china shachrus. Then there's on two levels there's the inyan of shachar. Ha'alev, the first reason is mimerirus hanal, because it's sad. Why is it sad? Because it's far from the truth. Mipsari echse. We see that merirus ha'adam v'nafshe v'eire rachamim rabim. It's a kind of emotion on page 14. Shemeriruzu mishkana belev v'chol asmoli amolei dam. That the inyan of merirus is a dark emotion. Yeah, it's heavy on the person. On this merirus, that's in Malchus Ksiv, so I'll just say like this: the way Bepashtus, the way we translate Shezafasne Hashemish is that the sun made me black. I got a tan, yeah, blackened by the sun. Here it seems that what he's saying is the sun left me. The sun left me and now I'm dark. It's also true. When the sun leaves, you become dark. So he says, Pirush, Yechudei Eloah, Shenikra Shemesh Umagin. So it left me. Shezafasni. Bezichri, I remember that there used to be Bechinas Yechudei Eloah, but now I don't have it. Nasa Bechinas Shachras Umariras Kanal. Okay, the Pirush of Parshas Tazria, Shezafasni Hashemesh, the Stalik Mini Shimsha. The sun is not shining. We spoke about this last week. I mentioned Rabbi Posner. 2 weeks ago. The Indian of loss. I posted 2 weeks ago that last week I'm not going to be here.
No, they said.
Yeah. Let's look a little bit at the Chatzi Ribua, Chatzi Eagle. Says this is really the pnimius of mitzvahs ner Chanukah is mishatishka hachama, when the sun sets, where Yechudei Eloah is absent. Pirush ki iker yiridas hamalchus libya. When is the real golos? Zman shein beis hamikdash kayim. Vazo b'chinas the stalik mini shimsha. That's really when the sun left. It's, in other words, coming down to Biyah is one thing, but there's a beis hamikdash. So the Rebbe is Gili Alikus, but when that's absent, that's Tishka Chama. Ukadei La Ira, that's the inyan of Ner Chanukah. The Ner Chanukah, there's a oir, and there's a shemen, and there's a psila. The function of these things, the inyan of a Mair, is to hold down the fire, to draw down the fire. That's the inyan of Ner Chanukah. Hakil mamshichim gam lamata. That you're mamshich the oir. He says Ner Chanukah is medivrei seifrim. Like he said last week, sefer is the mocker of the sefer, mocker oir. Which he's going to explain also again at the end of this place. So that's one inyan of dark. One inyan of black is the inyan of merirus, the inyan of sadness. The second inyan is pasha, that what are we busy with? You know, like that famous story that the Rebbe, I think, once said it, Gewalt in was liegst du? Yeah, he came at Erev Shabbos, he was shining his shoes, whatever the story was. So they said, in Lubavitch, Kum puts in the cup, nicht puts in the shich. Right? Like, that's, your head is in your shoes. Yeah. The Rebbe,
I never see a head in the shoes.
Yeah, a cup in kaloshim, right? So, the fact that, remember that lashon of the Alter Rebbe and the maimer, that you can't, he brings belashon Yiddish. You can't touch ruchnius with a finger. Yeah, you can't touch. So it's only with ruchnius that you could. Yeah. So he says, yeah, I want to connect to the Eibishter. How am I going to connect him? With a piece of leather? What's my asik in this world? What am I busy with Gashmias? That itself bothers the person. So he says, Shachros Habeiz hu hayirida atzma lehislabish b'mitzvahs maisius. It's not pshat that we're disconnected from Yechudei Eloi, but it's much more than that. Look how physical. How do you do a mitzvah? Yeah, you could learn Torah, but really, how you do mitzvah with physical objects? Tefillin, miklaf chulu. So that's taka the challenge. Such gashmias. Let's take a look. I look in the maimer and pashas Bamidbar Vaidab Midbar Sinai about the bechinus madregas arachmonas yud beis shvatim. That Yaakov is me'ere rachamim al nitzutz lekuttei sheyarad mimekem kvede, and there's the rachmonas of bechinas ayin nefesh yetze yerach Yaakov. He's going to explain why. What's the rachmonas? The eire rachmim rabim me'ed al nafshei, v'loi b'shvil ha'yirida levada. Not only that it went down to Mitzrayim, sheyardu v'makom kveda, ela av gam zeis shenislabsha b'guf ha'chumri. But we're in a physical body. Now, okay, we don't see a likus, but a little edelkeit, to be a little bit in a refined place. So, inyan beis bechinas shachris hanal. Ha'alef, the first inyan, the masha yardu v'makom kveda. Habeiz, the second inyan, gam zeis shenislabsha b'guf ha'chumri, that we're in a physical body. Now there's a comfort. Hagam ishcheirani, but afal pikein v'nov shemizeh hashachrus, from this blackness. Nasa dafke b'chinas v'nova kihin ha'idei hashachrus shebemerirus harichu, through being. So he says two things here. First of all, if it bothers me that I'm far from the Eibishter, I'm going to fight to be close. Right? Like in English, they say, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Yeah? Rabbi Shmuel Lu says, Gimel Tammuz, he was standing by the tzion, by the oil, Tavshinun Daled, and he made a achlata standing by the tzion, that every day he's going to learn Igris. He finished already the full Igris a few times. Yeah? I realize I have to rededicate myself. Right now that I'm far away, I have to, Now that we're living in a Olam Gashmi, now that we're far away from the Eibishter, I'm going to continue to look to connect to the Eibishter. That's one inyan. Al zen namar, v'rav t'vuis b'keach shir. Yeah, I'll say this in a litzonis. What, right? The wife says to the husband, when you leave, don't forget to call. Why? Because for the husband, as soon as he doesn't see the people, he forgets about everybody. It's not in front of him. For the wife, when she goes away, it intensifies. She has to call more and know more, and every second. In other words, when the kids are home, she's calm. As soon as they go out, she's worried. What's with this one? What's with that one? Where is it? Yeah. So this inyan, we're talking about Bnei Yerushalayim, right? When you're away, so how am I going to connect? What do I need to do? How do I? So the merirus v'rav t'vuis b'keach shir.
We're not women.
Val yedei, yeah, we're the kala. Val yedei hashachrus b'yislavshus b'mitzvahs ma'asiyos. Then there's the second part. By doing mitzvahs, hine ha-mitzvahs hein taryag orchin, and with the Zion the Rabbanim is Tov Reish Chof, that's Keser. The Hainu Rotzen Elyon. Chassidus explains many times that there's Rotzen Tachten. Hamispashet mechochmo bina lemidus. There's a lower position of Rotzen, and then there's a Rotzen Elyon. Rotzen Elyon hu ha-memutza bein ma'itzil and etzolim k'neida. Usually when I speak about this Indian of Isrotzen, I speak about it in very Gashmiastic terms, very, right, that Hashem created us, that we have certain things that we naturally desire. Like, let's say in an edel way, you say, what's a person's favorite color? The favorite color, that's just the way it is. The Eibishter program does that way. A person has an orientation. If a man likes women, so he doesn't have to remind himself, he doesn't have to be mizbainen. Let's say for 10 years, he's going to be in prison. He's not going to see any women in prison for 10 years. It's not, he doesn't have to remind himself after. It's part of his, it's an inyan atzmi. Yeah, it's a reflex. But
Is that forgetting?
No, he doesn't forget. Imagine. But let's say a person that they're on a diet, and they train themselves, they worked on themselves, that when they see cake, it doesn't talk to them anymore. That's a rotzain that's between seichel and midas. That's
what
not.
If a man never saw a woman in his life?
That's not even when they never saw in their whole life. It's still. That's right. That's rotzen the le'ela. It's the rotzen that's l'mayla min ha-seichel. It's inyan atzmi. It's like DNA. Yeah, the rotzen that's below. You don't have to. Everyone likes food. You don't have to teach them. It's a rotzen. It's like, I don't want to use the word atzmi, but it's rotzen elyon, right? The rotzen that's below chachma. A person worked on himself. He developed himself. Oh, so that's why sometimes we say, no matter how much a person is going to serve the Eibishter, no matter how much he's going to learn, what does the Alter Rebbe say in Tanya? It's a very painful line. He says a person who he now loves to learn, he doesn't have iskafia anymore. Yeah, he loves learning. There's no iskafia. He says, Afal pikein, oyhev as gufay yoser betivay. Because the type of ava to gufay is an innate. It's an inyan atzmi. The ava to learning is a learned ava. It's not the ava. So that's what he's explaining here. That there's rotzen de la'ela, there's rotzen elyon, and then there's the rotzen between seichel amidus. He says the rotzen that when a person is misbaimen in a likus, when a person is living a life of ruchnius, they're connecting to rotzen, the lower rotzen of Hashem, like in Gan Eden. But when a person is doing mitzvahs, The mitzvahs are by the Eibishter Ratzon Elyon. By the Eibishter, it's a programmed thing. He wants us to wear tzitzis. Why? The same reason why we like food. Why? It's the way we are.
There's a reason. The only thing we don't know is that sharpness.
No, but Chassidus explains that even the reasons in the maimer of Chukas, the maimer Zeis Chukas HaTorah, there's a maimer Mugge from the Rebbe. The Rebbe explains that really what we know is not really the etzem. There's really a Inyan Komos, there's a higher Inyan, there's a deeper Inyan.
At least something we know.
Good. So that's the Inyan of the Ratzon Elyon. So the Ratzon Elyon, the only way we can, Neshamas and Gan Eden can't be Mekasher with it. Neshamas and Atzilus can't be Mekasher. Dafka and Elam Hazah, with physical mitzvahs, that's Ratzon Elyon. That's why, that's the Memutza be Matzil and Atzolim. And that's the Nova, that's the beauty. Yoser Mebnes Yerushalayim, Shehein HaNeshamis Sheba Atzilus. Because Atzilus is already a Netzah. Even though they're in Atzilus, nevertheless, their whole chayus, chayusam v'kiyumam hu mibchinas oisius. It's only from the oisius of the Eibishter's name. Shishim ribu neshamis are shishim ribu oisius haTorah. We learned in an earlier maimer here that the whole Torah is Hashem's names. Oisius hein b'chinas kelim. Elo sha'anisham is pnimius hakelim. Fine, they're not malachim achitzonius hakelim, but nesham is pnimius hakelim. Umikol mokim chinas kelim heim. It's kelim, not Asher ein ken ayidei yididus hamalchus. He nei eile b'chinas ha'eiris. When the neshama comes down the mato, and we do mitzvahs, we get a connection to the eiris. V'loi eil. In the biur of the maimer, one of the things that he's going to speak about is this this inyan of what does it mean that it's the b'chinas ha'oiris. It's the inyan of memutza. What does it mean a memutza and the oiris? That's why I said that the askola that he goes into the biur. Now, what is the hemshech of the pasuk? Like a tent that's black on the outside and white on the inside. He says, Avraham, Avraham, it wasn't 100% pure. It was black. What is kedar? Is sigim upsoilus. This psoilus. It says, Ach mikol makom. So what's he saying? That the neshama comes down lamato, there's sigim, there's psoilus. And the neshama comes down lamato, it's not 100% pure. But nevertheless, this chayas muad kedusha. Shem loike neikol v'nifsa. We wouldn't exist. Ela sha'chayas hahu, the chayas that we receive from Ein Sof is b'chinas makif, and that's the inyan of the levoina, the white, right? The ole kedar is black and white. The white is the levoina shebiyud aleph samamoni akteris. Ki asora samamonim hein mislapshim beklippus. V'hayud aleph hu b'chinas makif shu be'etzem lovon. It's white, yeah. V'zeu ke ole kedar sheyesh lam oyel makif. So he says, just like by klippa, there's a chayas of kedusha, kach yesh etzli, in my neshama, the way the neshama is in elam haza achumri, am taka grobe yung, am a gashmi, megushim, but nevertheless there's a makif mi bechinas yechude eloah, shesh zafasne Hashem shemesh umagin. There's a trace of the sun. This is what I explained. He says like this: Im yesh bechinas makif. If klippe is getting chayas from kedusha in a eifen makif, kol shekaim v'kal v'chomer, that we shenimshach makif milyonim became our mitzvahs maisius. That when we do a mitzvah which connects with Ein Sof, that we have a ha'orah shehu tikun ubirur klipas noiga. That's the tikkun. That it helps us take away. And then he brings Allah's kama v'kama. That's what I brought from the Ir Miklat. If to the klipper there's a order, of course, for the kedusha. Then he says Yiriyas Shleima. Yiriyas Shleima. So Yiriyas Shleima, the Yiriyas in the Beis Hamik in the Mishkan. So he explained earlier that the Yiriyas Shleima, they weren't only on top, but they also went alone. Why? Yeah. Okay, a few more minutes. Okay, 8 minutes. We'll finish this. I'm glad you came. He says like this. Take another book and we'll be finished in a few minutes. Or cancel. He says like this. B'meshech all the shiurim, b'meshech our discussions, I talk a lot about makifim, and it's only because in our shiurim, while we were learning lekuttei Torah over the last couple of years, I got a much stronger connection to this idea that Alter Rebbe really explains about the union of makifim. Today, I feel like most of us are influenced much more by makifim than by pnimi. That's the way it is today. In other words, to be affected by an Indian pnimi requires a lot of effort, and to be affected by a makif, it doesn't require so much effort. It doesn't last so long. Yeah, but it's on many levels. It's in our own avodas Hashem, but I always talk about this Indian that it's also from our surroundings, right? Every once in a while, someone sends me a paper that someone wrote for a PhD, whatever. It's about Chassidus, it's about Chabad, it's about yeshivas, it's whatever, pieces. Yeah, so every once in a while, so someone sent me a thesis. This is all officially Torah's Lakshan, officially Torah's Lakshan, right? It's really someone's bol berai, right? But officially they did a study, right? They did a study, and the MS, the vast majority of graduates of yeshivas still can't learn. When I talk about yeshivas, I don't mean chadorim. I'm talking about Mair. I don't mean to speak against any yeshiva. 770.
They compare some questions.
Right, but it doesn't matter. Torah Vidas, Ponovich, doesn't matter. Torah Semes, it doesn't matter. All the yeshivas, many bachim have come out. Really, they still can't learn. So what? It's a waste of time. Maybe get a job, but the percentage that stay frum, right? The fierech, people who go work earlier, is be'ein arech. So this person's argument is that basically yeshiva is about an atmosphere, right? It's about, it's you're in the humming. There's the humming in the zal, the humming. That's an Indian
Coffee club.
Yeah, the coffee club. Okay, right? There's an avir. That's we thought it was only in 770. There's an avir, and that's something, and that avir leaves a tremendous impact, right? That makif, but that makif is a makif hakorev. There's also a makif that's beyond. There's like a subconscious makif. And he says that the emes, the subconscious makif, we cannot, that's from Mashiach. He says all the ole kedor, that's the makif that the buzzing, you look at it and you say, look what's going on. They're not learning here. Here's a Yishmael, here's a Esav, what's going on? They're not. but really there's a mailer, there's a chayas. It's not a makif. Madoch, by klippe, they're getting a chayas makif. By kedusha, for sure, they're getting a chayas makif. Okay, but then Yiriyas Shloime, so he says Shloime is Shalom. Remember, we learned that maimer, Shir Hashirim, Asher Shloime, Shalom with a hey, right? It's the feminine and the masculine. Shloimoi, not Shlomo, right? Komatz hey. So he says, Yiriyas Shloime, Makifim Yeser al Yen. He says, Yesh beis bechinas b'makifim. Ha'achat shem esgali mata. Ka'abeis she'im bayin l'degili elu l'meisa Mashiach. Oison, those makifim are called Nikrois Yiriyas Shloime. Al Shem HaPosuk, the Inyan of Shalom, Oy Yachzik b'ma'uzi, Yasa Shalom li, Pirush Inyan Shalom, is his Chabrus Beis Afochim, the Hainu Eiris al Yonim. So the Inyan of Shalom, Oisa Shalom b'mroimov, is to bring together two opposites. The Eiris al Yonim, Tivum Lalis L'Estalik L'Mayla. Right? The Grace Chassidim, they just want to stay by the Rebbe. They don't want to go out to do Mifzoim. So those Eiris, Ya'iru Lamata. And then it says, Beis Pamim Shalom, Pamal Yashal Mailo, Pamal Yashal Mata. In other words, Malchus da Atzilis in Bria, that's Pamal Yashal Mata. Pamal Yashal Mailo is Amshachas V'Ischabrus Ein Sof, Kulam B'Chochma Asisa, Sha'Chochma Nikra Asiya Gashmis, that it should become Atik LaAtzilis. He says, every person who learns Torah properly, Lishma, Al Yidei Kriya Be'esiyas HaTorah, by reading the words of Torah, Mamshich Zois. Lishma. That's the meaning of the Pasuk, Asher Yikra'u Be'emes. Be'emes Hu HaTorah. Chochma Nikra Emes. Eiraisa Mechochma Nafkas. Yikra'u Be'emes. Pirush B'toich Emes. Yikra'uhu V'yamshichuhu. You draw down the Eibishter in Torah. V'nikra Yiriyas Shloimoi B'hei Hei Eloah Hei Tator. In other words, there's a certain avarimkeit, a charm, a connection that a person feels with learning Torah that you don't have in mitzvahs. And that's that Inyan Pnimi. V'hine Inyan Sholim U'Shleima Atzmon. There's Yiriyas Shloimei and there's Shalom and Shloimei itself. Shloimei itself is b'chinas hislabshusei ba'elamis v'eisa Shalom b'nein. That's when there's Taka Shalom. When it joins together our pa'ulos and our learning. But Yiriyas Shloimei makifim al yonim. Ve'ein lu'umasa b'klipis klal. It's like Yechida shebenefesh. Ole kedor is levaina neged b'chinas makif d'gdusha. But neged Yiriyas Shloimei ein lu'umazekal. And that inyan of Yechida is Galil Asid Lavidach. And that's Shcheirani Bebeis B'nei Shachris Anal. Nevertheless, V'nova Kanal, the beauty of this connection to Ein Sof Mamash. Now he brings an interesting nugget. Kol Zeh Merumas Gamken in the Pasuk Mipnei Seva Tokum. It says like this. Seva is old age, is white hair. Hainu Mashakosu V'Sa'ar Reisha Ka'amar Nokum. That Atik, the Eibishter is Atik Yoimin, is white hair. Sha'asayris heim b'chinas lavnunis. And they are the halachis rabbis and mitzvahs hasei. Mipnei seva tokum. You will rise up. What did he explain? What do mitzvahs do? Mitzvahs take gashmias and they bring it up to the Eibishter. That's the white hair, connecting gashmias to the Eibishter. Then there's vadarte pnei zokin. Zokin here does not mean an old man. Zokin means a young man who's wise. How do we know that he's young? His hair is black. Seva is the old man with the white hair. Zokin, that's the one who learned. Yeah, Zeshakona Chochma, Mahagadlut Shelo. Not that he's old, but that he's smart. So he's young and he's smart. Hainu Mashakosov, Kvutsoisov Taltalim Shcheres. He has black curls, Ka'erev. Maimer Azal Pirush Zokin here, Shekana Chochma. Vehein ha'halachis, shenim shchuvnis pashtu mitzvahs loisasei chulu. Because when it comes to loisasei, there's nothing you could do, you could just learn about it. The whole inyan of loisasei is limud. right? It's not what you don't do, so you learn about it. So that's the Indian of Fadat Opnei Zoke, and that's Hodor, that's the beauty. So Tokum is mitzvah asay. Hodor is lois asay. And then the pasuk concludes, V'yareisa me'elekecha. V'yareisa me'elekecha hainu divrei soifrim. The whole Indian of divrei soifrim is an Indian of Yira Shamayim. They're always, here there's a Geder, and here there's a Takona, and there there's a Gzeira, and there there's a Harchaka, and here there's a Mukta, and here there's, well, it's all Yira Shamayim. It's all V'yareisa, hainu divrei soifrim. Zayim mitzvahs derabanan, k'mayim chamurim divrei soifrim. The whole Indian of Chumra, Chamurim is also, you have to be careful. And then Ani Avaya Kulachad, all these three together, the Lavan and the Shacher and the Seifrim, it's all Ani Avaya, it's all combined in Atzilus. Anyway, it needs more learning and more biur, but we're going to be mafsik here. Okay?
By Zaken, the Alter Rebbe says in another maimer, is that kind of chachma is that it's like Oisiyas Chakika. It's so engraved in him, that's why you have to stand up for it.
Right, in the maimer and Kedoshim. Yeah. A short word, a quick word, coming from Chafov, really we should have verbringed a little bit. So I'll just mention a certain nekuda that the Rebbe verbringt Tov Shin Yud. The Rebbe verbringt Chafov, long verbringen. I would assume that Rabbi Yoel wrote the Hanocha. I don't, it would be nice if there was a tape. I don't know. To me, it would make sense that the verbringen was taped. One of the things the Rebbe speaks about there is that the Rebbe makes a siyum on Masechtas Kiddushin, and the Rebbe speaks about the union of Kiddushin between a Rebbe and a Chassid. So the Rebbe says that in Kiddushin, there are, in Alpi Nigla, there are two things. When a person is Mekadesh a woman, Asar lo akula alma, and then he's miyachid to him. Yeah? Miyuchid, that's Kiddushin, mizumenes li. And then Alpi, the Rebbe brings a Ragachover. The Ragachover brings that there are two inyonim in the Kiddushin. One is a kinyan, like a chitzonius, a kinyan. The kinyan is like the financial commitment that the husband has to the wife. And then there's a bailus, meaning husband-wife. Husband-wife is an Indian pnimi. The kinyan is an Indian chitzoni. It's about the fiscal commitment one to another. What the wife does, the bailus part, we're married, that's an Indian pnimi. So the Rebbe says that by the Rebbe and Chassid, there's all three in Yonim. Number one, if we're mekasher ourselves to the Rebbe, Asar la akula alma, we become detached from Gashmius. We stop being so, what does it say? Ben shloishim lekoyach. Right? Ben shloishim lekoyach. If you don't get what you want in Gashmius, so right, ben shmoina so lechuppah. And shloishim, you got to be careful. And then there's in the Rebbe's, then there's the union of yichud, right? On two levels of connection between the Rebbe and the Chassid, that you become this Allah, that through the Rebbe you become connected to the Eibishter. You become that. So once you become separated from, by the Rebbe, there's two inyonim. One is that we become connected. The Rebbe is mifsoyim, the Rebbe is inyonim, but then there's the inyan pnimi, that the person that like your neshama becomes changed. That you become one mitzias. The Rebbe lifts you up. You become like one mitzias with the Rebbe through the Rebbe's Torah. This inyan, this second inyan of issues of connection, is through the Torah of the Rebbe. And the Rebbe says that by the Torah is begematria tov reish yud aleph. Yeah, why? Because Anoichi lo yelecha. We heard from the Eibishter. What we heard from Moshe, Torah's Moshe. From Moshe, we heard Tov Reish Yud Aleph. So the Rebbe says, when a person learns the Torah of the Rebbe, even if they're missing in Anoichi and Layir, meaning they have sfeikus in the Rebbe, the Rebbe is going to elevate. So that's the Indian. Yeah. Okay. Ashikoya Chevre. So medaf sich mekasher.
There was no meaning in Shabbos.
No.
No, I wasn't here.